They sing of lovely Leitrim and the hills of Donegal. They sing of old Killarney, it's the prettiest place of all. They sing about the Wicklow Hills and the green fields round Fermanagh, but I'd sing about Roscommon in the west coast of our land.
Just like to welcome everyone to the new podcast, Ros4Sam, now up and running, and my name is Ronan Carley from 4 Mile House in Roscommon, now based in Navan. I'm joined here in the studio by Padraig Farrell, Newtown Cashel from Longford, and Pierce Delaney from Dunshaughlin. Both strong connections with Roscommon, both probably closet Roscommon fans, maybe is how I'd best describe them. Padraig, just living across the border really in Derrahon there. Newtown Cashel has played against Fáileas and many's the occasion in challenge matches, and quite the encyclopedia on all things GAA related. And I know his old man Michael Farrell is a keen visitor to Down the Hatch in Roscommon town. He actually has a little bit of news for us that might have been relayed to his dad recently. Pierce, some of you may or may not have known, was the initial star of Roscommon Revealed before he was kind of sacked halfway through productions to be replaced by Coon Mallard. But nevertheless, he's never actually held that against me that he was let go. He's been quite magnanimous. But we're going to shoot on now. I'm going to start with you, Padraig. First up, we've had the Roscommon game against Laois, and I'll come to that in a minute. Next up for Roscommon is the game against Fermanagh this weekend. What are your thoughts on that, Padraig?
Yeah, Ron, very much a must-win game for Roscommon, really. After to keep their promotion hopes alive. I'm sure they would have pinpointed the first 3 games in the league as 3 games that they really needed to win, like with Laois at home, Clare at home, and Fermanagh away. So I think with the result, it really the result last week I suppose it was a shock result, with regard to the different scores that were coming in, particularly when they put themselves in such a strong position. But Fermanagh are coming off the back of a game maybe where their expectations were fairly low above in Newbridge, and they actually played very, very well by all accounts. Obviously it wasn't at the game, but I think they would have gone into it, a bit tentative. They didn't have a great McKenna Cup, and no more than Roscommon or a lot of teams this time of the year. They are missing a few. It's a big ask for them. The 2 Quigleys have both opted out this year, and they're a massive loss to a county like Fermanagh with a small playing population. And then both Tomás and Rory Corrigan were out last week. There would be Tomás Corrigan in particular, who wouldn't have played last year, or kind of wasn't wanted, I think, by Rory Gallagher last year. So he's back in the fold this year. And there is talk that maybe 1, if not 2 of them could be back for the game in Brewster Park. So they'll be very much, I think their tails are up for this game. Just looking at them the last day, they seem to be very... they have a few big men, and that seemed to cause Roscommon a problem, by all accounts, in the Hyde. So this is a problem they're going to have again on Sunday. Like Roscommon's back, not the biggest of men, and particularly as you were saying with Sean Malooly out, but they're very good up front. Darren McGurn seems to be one to watch. He's played very well in the McKenna Cup, and he's played well against Kildare. There's 2 McGullans, I think they're brothers, and the fellow in the middle of the field is very good, Stephen McGullion, and then the free taker Conal Jones. He hit 7 from 7 the last day, so you don't want to be conceding a whole lot to them. Yeah, but I think spirits are quite high with them, so I think they're very dangerous now on Sunday.
We'll look at some of the other opponents now. Roscommon have a few other tricky encounters coming up. I suppose there's no easy games in the top 2 divisions, that's the reality. So just maybe your thoughts on some of the opponents coming after Fermanagh there.
Yeah, well, I suppose they would need to get a good result against Fermanagh, given the result the last day. Their game after Fermanagh is they've Clare at home, so you'd be expecting them to win that one. But it's the games after that now where I suppose the really tough teams are. You've Kildare in Newbridge, you've Westmeath in the Hyde, and Armagh and Cavan away. So they really need to be picking up some points now in these upcoming games. the last time they were in Division 2, Roscommon, they also drew their first game against Meath, and they won their second game and lost their third game, and they got promoted on the back of 4 wins in their last 4 games. So I suppose they don't want to leave themselves in that position this time, having to get wins against Kildare, Westmeath, Armagh and Cavan.
Especially with games away,
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very difficult division to get out of. My own county, Meath, we're stuck in Division 2 for 13 years. So I suppose Roscommon, they want to get back up at the first opportunity.
No, like as Piaras says there, the 2 standout games really are Kildare and Armagh, and unfortunately for Roscommon, they're both away. And having dropped the point against Laois, it's hard to see Kildare or Armagh losing to Laois or drawing with Laois. So their games they're going to have to win, and even I think their last game's away to Cavan, and while Roscommon have a good record against Cavan, it's not a gimme, because Cavan may be fighting for their lives after their first game there. They were demolished, so that could be a very big game as well. So there's no easy games for them really after that Clare game,
Fermanagh, actually, they got some very good results in last year's league. They were up and down, but they beat Kildare, they beat Donegal, and they beat Clare, and Clare were going very well last year. So they were 3 big wins. It was, I suppose, what cost them the promotion was when they lost their final 2 games against Armagh and Meath. So I suppose if Roscommon don't win on Sunday, they'll really be on the back foot.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think it's literally win this one now, or that's promotion gone. I mean, personally, I know we were saying earlier, God, if they win Sunday, there could be. You're looking then at trying to avoid relegation. I personally don't think there's going to be a problem there. I think they will stay up, but it is going to be a massive battle. So I was at the game against Laois. It was a strange kind of game. I mean, they played reasonably well, Roscommon. They were just a bit lethargic. It was lacking a little bit of. It was kind of getting up to the half forward line. They were kind of coming back again. It was lacking just a little bit of incision. Laois actually were a little bit more direct. There's a guy in their corner forward, Evan Carl. He was very, very good. He gave David Murray all kinds of problems, and David Murray now is a good man marker. He's a tight bit of stuff. Just looking at it there, I thought, around the middle of the field, Roscommon struggled a little bit. Having that said, I think Tiger O'Rourke and Shane Killorn, they're both fine players, and Shane Killorn, I can really see him now starting to prosper. Obviously his dad is a Roscommon legend, and unlike the dad, Shane is actually able to kick a point. He's actually quite comfortable he kicks the score nearly every match. Seamus Killorn could do everything else apart from kick a point.
Let's hope Seamus Killorn's not listening to the podcast.
But Padraig, just looking at the line out there, what do you make of that line out there just against Laois?
Yeah, well, just from the Laois game, it seemed to be. Look, I think Brian Stack was a talking point at full back in that while he's a very good player, and there's definitely a place for him on the team. I think a lot of people might have felt that he was a bit susceptible to a high ball, and really, knowing my limited knowledge of Laois, having seen them last year, even against Meath and Croke Park, Evan O'Carroll is a very big guy, and Kieran Lillis is as well. So that was always going to give them a few problems. And the Dailies, you're obviously missing Conor Daly come on, I think. There seemed to be a bit of a talking point with regard to Kieran Lennon from Clonagale not starting. Apparently he had a very good FBD league and didn't make the team. So, obviously I'm sure Anthony Cunningham had his reasons for that. But, you'd imagine they're going to have the 3 dailies up and running, there was a rumour doing the rounds in the hatch there, I think Thursday night, that one of them had picked up an injury, but I don't know if that's true or not now. But with 3 of them there, they're fairly abrasive, and you'd imagine maybe Conor Daly come back, he could go in full back, and that'll plug that gap for them,
Yeah, I have to say there, Cian McKeown is not a player I'd know a whole pile about, but he was full forward, but he's a handful. He's strong, he's a big lad, he's strong, he's physical. Cathal Craig was very good again. I mean, very good at winning himself a free, just comfortable on the ball. He just brings a real authority to it. Niall Kilroy was good. Donny Smith, I thought, was excellent, and he's a player, I suppose, an awful lot of the time over the last few years he's just coming on as sub, so I'd say he's probably desperate to get a starting place, but he was very impressive.
And Conor Cox is a big loss. I suppose he would have been worth a couple of points the last day, and I think he's going to be out for 2 or 3 weeks. So I mean, he'll be a big loss in the next couple of games, and a point either way is very important in these tight games, especially going away to somewhere like Fermanagh.
Yeah, I mean, the worry I'd have there with Roscommon is you've no Jemad Murta in there the last day, you've no Conor Cox, as you said. Now Conor Cox is back in a few weeks. I'm not sure what the story is with Jemad Murta, whether he's...
8 with the starting team in the Connacht final.
Say that again, Padraig?
They have 8 with the starting team that they had in the Connacht final against Laois. Like, so they're down a good few there, you know.
Any thoughts just there, like just looking at the new rules? We've got the mark inside now been brought in. Any thoughts there? Is that something, Padraig, you think that could benefit Roscommon hugely with someone like Conor Cox in there?
Yeah, that kind of like. I think it's very difficult to make it work though. I haven't seen kind of in a few coaching conferences there with regard to trying to coach it. Like, it's a very difficult thing to coach, because you're trying to coach players to kick the ball from 40 yards and, you know, put it directly on somebody's chest. And oftentimes, number one, inter-county defenders are kind of, you know, they're so strong that they're going to break the ball. And the other thing is, like, you're giving up possession a little bit, and then there's the whole confusion over what you do when you catch the ball. Do you stick your hand up? I'm sure Roscommon fans would prefer to see Conor Cox turn and go at the defender rather than stick his hand up and look to tap the ball over the bar.
You have the option, don't you?
You have the option, yeah. I think you have the option, but I think it's confusing, and then you throw in kind of referees having to make a call on it. Like, so it's very, I don't know, like, it's getting a lot of bad press from a lot of kind of people watching the game, but maybe it needs to get a chance. You know, it'll be.
I think it's something that could slow up the game, and it might benefit teams that are maybe not as good, because it'll give them an outlet, leaving men up front, and they may not be as defensive as they were. So it may not. I mean, it may benefit Roscommon in some ways with the likes of Conor Cox up front, good forwards, but it could go against them as well with some of the lesser teams in Division 2 utilising it. Now, we didn't see much of it in the first week, very little in fact, but I mean, it remains to be seen how it will play out for the rest of the league. And I mean, if I heard on the radio during the week, I suppose if it's going very badly, there's even talk that it may be gotten rid of before the championship.
It's almost like an Aussie rules type element.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt about it. I was listening to a podcast with Conor Nash. He's a Meath man. He's in Australia now, and he was saying that the introduction of this advanced mark will definitely Aussie rulesify Gaelic football, and it'll
make the compromise rules more interesting, definitely.
Yeah, it may not bring it in a great direction, so it's hard to know what way that'll go.
I just think the black card and the sin bin for a black card, 10-minute sin bin, like you could see at the end of the Kerry Dublin game last week on television, like it had a massive effect on the game. I think it might have been one of the wing forwards for Kerry he got a black card at the wrong time. You know, with 10 minutes to go, and they were a player up at that stage. I think they were 3 points up, and it just gave the momentum to Dublin. Then, like, it's a massive penalty now to be down a player, like, for the sin bin. Like, it's a massive penalty. As
you say, when it was a black card and another fella just coming on, it was nearly strategic with some teams.
Yeah, it was. It's going to be far more difficult now, and particularly at the end of the game. You know, you don't want to pay that price getting somebody black carded and you're down to 14 players, like, you know, at the end of the game if you're hanging on by a point or two. So it will make teams think about pulling somebody down and giving away a black card.
The other thing about it is that it might actually slow down the game, because, you know, say if the Dubs are in the last 10 minutes of an All-Ireland, or, you know, I can see them slowing up, taking frees, slowing everything down, slowing up on kickouts, just eating into the time, which may not make great spectacle when it comes to the business end of football matches, which I suppose they wouldn't have thought of that when they were coming up with the idea for the sin bin. So it's amazing the way teams always find ways to get around rules like this, you know.
Yeah, and I suppose, lads, just there, look, I suppose it wasn't the best result for Roscommon the first day. I suppose it wasn't the best result. Their backs are up now. They have to prove themselves now. I suppose from my point of view, what I'm very happy with Roscommon is I just think Anthony Cunningham is a very level-headed chap. I think he kind of will keep the players grounded. I think they'll go to Enniskillen with the right approach. I mean, if they had beaten Laois the first day and went up there now and lost, so I think they're going up there. I think there will be a dangerous animal, and I suppose the thing you notice about Fermanagh is, you know, they're well organised and all that, but they wouldn't be the most creative team. I mean, Roscommon do have the forwards to beat them.
Oh yeah, and they are like their defence is porous enough. Like, you know, for all the kind of the defensive football they play, like they were really under pressure from Kildare when Kildare are a very strong running team. When they ran at them, you know, I think that's where they can be hurt. Like while I can see, you know, Fermanagh's forwards causing a little bit of bother, like you can certainly see Roscommon's forwards, you know, making hay, you know. But like that again, it depends on the attitude. You have to feel, you know, that maybe did Roscommon take Laois a little bit for granted last Sunday, like, you know.
I think there's an element personally of, like, you've been up in Roscommon, have been in Division 1 now, up and down out of it. I think there's almost an element when you're in Division 1 that there's no room for complacency. I think when you come down to Division 2 like that, if you've been in Division 1, I think it nearly happens, it nearly creeps in. I think even if players aren't aware of it, I mean, the way Roscommon were 2 goals up, heading into injury time, it was shocking now the way they let in the 2 goals. But I mean, the fact, I think maybe would that complacency have been there if they were up in Division 1? I don't think so. But it's hard to know.
Oh, yeah, they may have underestimated Laois. I mean, they have. I suppose the perceived easier games in the group, I suppose, would have been the first 3, and maybe in the light of the beating that Cavan got last weekend, Cavan in their final game, Cavan seem to be down a good few players from last year, so they really have to make hay while the sun is shining against Fermanagh and Clare, because the Kildare, Westmeath and Armagh games will be very tough in February and March.
Just looking ahead to the Connacht Championship, Padraig, any thoughts on it? Very, very early days yet. Roscommon of London away, first game. I think Mayo then in a semi-final. Any thoughts on that? Obviously, it's exciting now with Padraig Joyce in there with Galway. Yeah,
like and you know, Roscommon will go in, you know, having won 2 of the last 3 Connacht Championships, they will go in raging underdogs in the Connacht Championship. Like, there's no doubt about it. Mayo will be considered ahead of them, and so will Galway. Like, you know, so it's a great way to go into it. Like, but I think the key for Roscommon is to try and get as many of their players back on the field. Like, they need, you know, they're not, you know, it's not a massive county, and you can't afford to be without the Dermot Murtagh of this world. Like, you know, they need to get them on the field along with, you know, a lot of the other players that they appear to be missing there. Like, I don't know what the story is with Ultan Harney. Like, you know, Conor Devaney's out at the minute. Obviously Conor Cox. That, you know, they need to get these players on the field. Like, but you know, you give them a great chance. You know, Anthony Cunningham, you really feel like when he's facing into a Mayo or a Galway, like that, he really, you know, they'll dig in. Like, they will really have a kind of a chip on their shoulder, and he'll have them definitely psychologically ready for the battle. Anyway, you know,
Galway seem to be a different animal this year.
Are you excited about that, Pierce? Choice been in there now?
It looks, from the first weekend, it looks like they're going to be playing much more offensive football, long kicking in. So I think they really could be the team to beat. I think Mayo are maybe in transition. They're struggling a little bit to come up with new forwards, and then you've Roscommon. So you'd imagine they'd get over London. Then it'll be Mayo. That'll be the big one for them, I suppose, in May. Yeah. And
I think we've, look, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves at this stage, but it's exciting times. I suppose one concern I would have with Roscommon is the underage. Like, we had a golden era there from maybe up till about 3 or 4 years ago, where there was a Connacht minor or an under 21 being won every year nearly. That's dried up again a little bit. Having that said, now Liam Tully, the current under 20 manager, got the under 17s to an All-Ireland final 2 years ago, so I suppose a lot of that crop will be in there. So maybe there'll be a few coming off that, and I'm sure probably a couple of them in the panel already. But anyway, an exciting campaign ahead, no doubt, Padraig.
Yeah, looking forward. Look, the key for Roscommon is to try and get 2 points on the board now. Get 2 more points along with the point that they have, and like, I think while he'll be mad keen to get back to Division 1, he will be even keener to avoid getting pulled into a relegation battle. You know, I think I don't think it would be the worst case scenario for him if, you know, they finish third, you know, while he wouldn't be looking at that. But so long as he can get his players back in the field, and I think he'll be thinking championship then at that stage. You know.
Of course, another factor in the Division 2 is that, as far as I know, the two teams that get relegated out of Division 2 won't be in the Sam Maguire Cup this summer. So that's also another major factor in Division 2, which wouldn't have been there other years. So I suppose the teams they'll have something to play for right up to the very end, because the likes of Cavan and Westmeath, you know, Roscommon won't want to be playing in a Tier 2 championship come the summertime.
Just on a final note, can I just ask, Piers, have you purchased your ticket yet for the apartment in London? Where are you at in that process?
I haven't, but is it €100 per ticket?
It is indeed.
Well, if I'd buy two if I get them for 150. Maybe you'd have a word with the powers that be.
I'll do what I can.
You don't know what part of London?
It's very central. It's worth €800,000. Padraig, where are you standing on your ticket?
Well, I think I was kind of hoping it might be a perk of the job here, that it might be kind of handed something, you know, some sort of a kind of a...
Like, I did buy a ticket for the Cashel draw, so... You
did indeed, and in fairness, the prize, you know, while it was a load of turf, you know, it's still worth winning, like, you know, I think I'll have to return the favour, you know.
Lads, thanks a million. Great to bring an end to our first Ros4Sam podcast. We'll see how the Rossies progress over the season, and looking forward to being back in the studio with the lads again shortly. Thanks, lads.
Thank you.
Up the Ross.
Proud of their own county, Roscommon in the west. Who were proud of their own county, Roscommon in the west.